Good. So hi and welcome, Jo. I'm super excited to have Jo Flintham with me today. Jo, you've been working with me on my fast, intensive 12-week program, and it's been the most amazing pleasure to work with you and see your incredible insights and successes. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about where you were before you took that leap of faith and you contacted me. What was going on back then?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, thanks for having me, Mandy. So I contacted you because, a really short statement, I was stuck. So where I was working an online business. I had my own online business, and I was connected to a network marketing company in personal development. Loved the company, loved the product, loved the people, but just felt a little bit stuck. So I was having trouble with motivation, with consistency, with doing the activities that I needed to do to create the results. I had previously created some really great results, so had some great milestones, but just got into this funk and couldn't seem to get myself out. So I knew that I needed to do something different, and got to Googling and found you.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit. Oh, you got it. Tell me a little bit about how you felt back then. I remember you were stuck, but you had some rather overwhelming feelings, I think, that were almost paralysing you into action.
So I did. I felt, feeling stuck and feeling that I just couldn't find what I needed to do. So I knew that there was more. I knew that there was more within me that I could draw on, but I was in a bit of a fog, and I just couldn't seem to work out what that was. So I'd always been a really determined sort of woman before, and a real go-getter, and I've always succeeded in anything that I've done to it, to various degrees. But I was just sort of trapped in this funk, this vortex, and not being able to get out.
Yeah. And what was that moment? Because I remember when we talked about working together, and then the price came out and there was a bit of a silence, but you are such a go-getter, and you said you were ready to go for it. But tell me, at that moment that you committed, how did you feel right then?
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I knew straight away. So I remember that too, when you gave me the price and there was a bit of silence, and that wasn't that was too much, or I can't afford it, or anything like that. That was, how can I get the money to pay for this? Because, it's not about the money. It's about doing what we need to do to achieve what we need to achieve. And I knew that. Yeah. I knew that. So once the decision was made, which was, quite quickly, and, I moved what I needed to move to make it happen. I knew, I just had that knowing that I was in the right place to do the right thing. You and I connected, I knew that you were the right person to help me. And, I was just excited, had no expectation. I'd never been coached before this, and had no idea really what this was going to look like or how it was going to help, but I knew that it was going to help, and I knew that I needed it.
Awesome. Excuse me, I'm just going to close my window. We seem to have a warm-up. And something, excuse me one moment, I'll put this on. And something you said there is such, I click with it so much. It's about money is only an energy, and we know, that we need to do whatever it takes as an investment. But a lot of people don't have that attitude, and I'm sure you've come across that. They, when we change, fear happens. It's natural and it's normal, but many people let that fear paralyze them, and then they come up with reasons and excuses why it's not the right time. So, I applaud you so much for stepping straight through it. And then I remember saying, and now we're going to dig down, and you're going to really get to know yourself so that we can help you get unstuck and move forward. And I think that fear you've done such amazing things in your life that you've always had to push yourself through that fear and just get on with it. So tell me a little bit about some of the things we uncovered One was that sort of focus that you had on how you
Yeah.
doing things. So
Yeah, that was a huge thing, and something that I hadn't realised. And I've always been a pretty self-aware sort of person, but when that came to the fore, that was like a real whoa moment. Like that was huge. So, you know, coming from where I've come from, I've always had this, you know, deep drive and determination, and you know, you know, as I put it, you sort of, you know, hit it over the head with a club and drag it back into the cave, because that's what's going to happen, and you know, I'm going to force it to happen no matter what, and which is great, you know, like you definitely get results doing that, but it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting, and you know, it becomes a downward spiral. And so what I realized is working with you, you know, you were able to really highlight this for me, that I was moving away from things all the time. So I was, you know, if I was going to leave a job, it was because I was, you know, I was determined to get a new job because I was so desperate to move away from where I was. Or, you know, if I was, you know, wanted to lose weight or get fit, it was because I wasn't the weight that I was happy with and the fitness I was happy with. So I was determined to get away from that, as opposed to being, you know, pulled towards what I wanted. So using the gym analogy, you know, being pulled towards, you know, health and vibrancy and well-being and energy, that's what I want. It was never about that. It was always about running away from, you know, whatever it was over here. And that was a huge thing for me. That's changed how I approach all aspects of my life. And I'm not exhausted. It's lovely. I'm not exhausted, and I don't beat myself up anymore. Well, I shouldn't say I don't. I do it a lot less. Let's be honest. You know, I think we all still have a tendency to do that, but yeah, I do that a lot less now, and I'm far more aware of when that pattern's starting to creep back up, and you know, I have those, you know, the techniques now and the understanding to be able to move through it, you know, quite quickly.
And I think it's such an important thing. And I had a gold medal myself in, you know, pushing through the warrior spirit. But ultimately, as you say, it gets exhausting, yet it becomes a habitual way of operating. And, you know, you've got the most amazing results in your life by pushing. But I think when you realised it, it suddenly for you felt so different, because it is a different energy of going with ease and flow towards what we want, rather than determination and grit away from what we want.
Absolutely. And what I found too, just on that, was I, you know, through that determination and moving away from something, I would achieve success. So I'd have my goal and I'd go, right, I'd ding the bell, I got it. And then what? Okay, so I've achieved now that I've moved away from that. And then there was nothing else for me to go and achieve. So I'd find that I'd end up in that same pattern. I'd get stuck, and then I'd get frustrated, I didn't like where I was, I need to move away from it, so the pattern would start up again. So that was a big thing too.
And I think you said you've reinvented yourself. You are a creator many times, and you also said you'd had quite a lot of jobs searching for, you know, you and the perfect one. And it's very similar to another client, Alex, I interviewed recently, who'd moved from job to job, and a lot of his motivation was away because it wasn't working. It was away from that situation to go and find something else, but he never quite got there, and it caused him to have those voices in the head and berate himself. And I know at one stage you, perhaps in the past, as many of my clients have been hard on yourself, and we picked out a pattern of you punishing yourself a little bit, weren't you? Because you weren't where you wanted to be. Tell me a little bit about that and what you weren't doing because of that.
Yeah, so I was really good at kicking myself up the backside for, you know, just about everything, and then playing that over and over and over in my head. So, you know, as I've shared with you, I love my horses, and, you know, we're on this beautiful property in the Hunter Valley, and I was completely disconnected from, you know, from nature, from my horses. I wasn't spending time with them. I wasn't riding them. And I didn't understand why. I didn't get why I didn't either have the motivation or the want or the confidence or whatever it was but I now understand that I was using that as a tool to punish myself. So, you know, if I didn't achieve all that I'd set out to achieve in a day, then I couldn't possibly go out and enjoy myself, right? I couldn't go and have nice time for me. I had to go and, you know, sit in the corner and think about what I'd done, or, you know, as an analogy. But yeah, I use that sort of thing to punish myself. And now that I understand what I was doing and I no longer do that, the results have been, you know, amazing.
And I think that brings me to something that's so important, and I think it was so transformational for me many years ago, is we cannot see what we can't see. And we have hidden patterns run in our subconscious mind, and our body, you know, influences our mind. And they've been like programs we've had forever, and we're not aware of so many of them. So it's impossible to get out of our own way on our own and change them. And we can only change with awareness. And I think something, and I know clients have said this, is that I'm, you know, one of my brilliance is helping people see what they can't see. And then you do the necessary, you know, take the action, make the shift. And that's when you get such, I think, transformational changes with that awareness, the self-awareness.
Oh, hugely, hugely. You know, I thought that I was a quite switched on, self-aware person, but, you know, that's exactly what you did for me, Mandy, is really shine a light on what was really foggy for me. So I knew there was something, but I couldn't see it for myself. And the more I tried to see it, the foggier it got, the more blurry it got. And, you know, again, there was that downward spiral. So I wasn't getting anywhere. So I knew there was more. And that's what you were able to do for me, is to really lift the fog and be able to shine the light on it and say, well, you know, this is, you know, what's happening here. And then, you know, give me the strategies and the actions to take to be able to change my habits, change my patterns, identify when I was slipping back into that, which was a big thing for me as well. Because, you know, in the past, if I'd recognised what those habits were, I might have been a week to a month into it before I went, oh, look at that, I slipped back into it. And by that stage, I've re-established those old habits. So I had to go through the whole process again. So being able to catch it now in time, I still do it. I still go down that rabbit hole occasionally, but I catch it in such a short period of time that I'm able to put the techniques, you know, in place straight away that you've taught me to get myself on the road again.
And just on those techniques, as not everyone knows, you know, my background originally was neuro-linguistic programming, neuroscience. So there's actually tools that I stumbled across years ago that work. They're almost the how-to and the missing user's manual for the mind. And really, that's the difference that makes the difference, because most of us know what we need to do, but not, you know, knowing it in the head doesn't mean we implement it and take action. And most people have a brilliant habit occasionally or often of getting in their own way. You know, and then being accountable as well. I know that, you know, we're always accountable to other people more than ourselves, because most of us, and we had a little bit of challenge occasionally. You told me you hadn't been accountable to yourself, you know, at times, and you knew that you weren't doing what you needed to do, and then you were hard on yourself, and it just gets, as you say, in a fog and a snowball. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
we've, you know, and you've been one of my high achievers, which I love to work with, because you're always so motivated, you know, to get down and dirty, get into it and get moving. What other insights did you get along the way that have made, apart from the biggest one, which we'll go to in a minute, is there anything else that made a great difference to you?
Oh, goodness, so many. It's, there's been so many little shifts along the way. So yeah, I've had, you know, those couple of really big ones, which have been awesome, but so many, you know, little shifts, you know, just around how I approach things, how I, you know, how I don't know, how I think about things now, and, you know, how I don't try and, you know, I think I shared with this with you before, but, you know, I don't try and, you know, make things fit all the time. I don't try and go, okay, well, this is what has to happen, so I'm going to try and dull it down and you know, put it in a box. I take the action. You know, I know what I need to do, so I take the action, and then I release everything else. I let it go, and I'd completely let go of the outcome. You know, the outcome is the outcome, you know, and we definitely get there in the end, but, you know, I don't have to fight with it, you know, and wrestle with it the whole way through. And that's, you know, that's probably been one of the other bigger ones that I've had, yeah.
And I think just before we do probably the most amazing one, I know you've found better strategies to manage your emotional state, because obviously our emotions are a huge part of what we do and don't do, and if we don't feel right, it's uncomfortable, and I think you've got a much better check on your own emotional state now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I've always, been guided by emotions. I feel my way into things, but I didn't understand that I was being ruled by my emotions. So I would behave, my actions for that particular day or that moment were always around how I felt, because that's how I thought. Well, I suppose I didn't even think, it was just how I was. It was how, I'd always operated. So understanding that I could understand how I was feeling. I didn't have to intellectualize it. I could still feel it, but I could also change if I was having a bit of a crummy day, or my energy level was down, or whatever that was, that I was able to shift that energy. So I was able to shift how I was feeling. So I wasn't telling myself I was feeling good when I wasn't. I was actually putting myself into a state where I did feel good. So therefore I was inspired and I took the action, and it was coming from the right place. Yeah, that was huge. And again, not so exhausting. not in the least. It's actually completely different. I'm completely energized and excited every day to be, getting in and doing what I love to do, which is, been a huge discovery.
And I think one of the greatest things, I guess the finale of it, and it didn't even take the whole 12 weeks to get this major shift, but you had a major shift along the way, and you have realised that you're in the right industry, but just shifting it somewhat, I guess. So tell us a little bit about that, because that's super exciting.
Yeah, it is, and huge. It was huge. So, I was, running my own business in the online space, in the personal development space. And I think I mentioned, great product, great company, great people, awesome system. So, ticks all round, loved it. But there was just something that was still not quite connecting, just wasn't quite gelling. And again, I felt it, but I didn't know what it was. And I thought it was just me losing some motivation or inspiration, or, I didn't really know. But, I think it was, I don't know, what was it, week 6 or 7? I don't know, about halfway through. We're going through the values journey and looking around, what is it that I'm doing here? What is my brilliance or my genius? So what am I put here to do? And, I realised that I needed to be reaching out and connecting with people on a more one-on-one level. So I decided to go out on my own, and I've started my own coaching business for women. So coaching in the personal development space, helping women who have been through similar things to me get themselves unstuck, to be able to, move forward through whatever it is that they're going through, and be able to come out the other side of that and move towards achievement in, what they want. Wow. So that's been really, really exciting, and things are really starting to kick off and heat up with my business. And I think 2020 is going to be a huge year.
Look, I know it is, and as I said, I've been with you, and I was reading as we talked today. I was reading your About Jo on your website, and it was just the most amazing story. I learned even more than I thought I knew about you then. So you've got so much experience. You've been through so much. You've had such incredible success and highs and lows, and you're so raw, honest, and authentic that I really know that there will be so many women out there that you can help, because the world needs more people to shine their light out for others and lead the way. And I feel it's such a fantastic step. And the great news is we're going to continue working. I'm going to continue coaching, and my intention is to help you grow and build your business so that you can serve more people, and see if there's any way, maybe there's a few people we can send your way too. know, what's your website? And tell us a little bit. You've got a Facebook group too.
I do. So I call myself Tall Poppy. So, you know, anyone who's listening in Australia knows that, you know, over here we have a tall poppy syndrome where, goodness gracious, don't grow too tall because you might stand out. And then, you know, if you stand out, other people don't like that and they want to, you know, chop you off. But, you know, what we're about is being tall poppies, is, you know, standing up, standing strong and standing out. You know, we don't have to play small. We don't need to conform to what society or the herd mentality is. We can go and achieve whatever it is that we want to achieve. So that's what that's about. But my website is joflintham.com. On Facebook, Tall Poppy, and our Facebook group, or my Facebook group, is Tall Poppy and Proud. So
people can't find it. Most, you know, you can always come through me and I can pass them on. But I think the reason I love that so much is just as an interesting point here, this tall poppy syndrome, especially in Australia. I have some clients in America, and every time I have a client, I ask them if they have heard it. They have never heard what a tall poppy syndrome is. And Americans are very much into championing each other. It might go a little bit, you know, over the top sometimes with the rah-rah stuff, but they were horrified to think that we could try and, you know, bring people down and belittle them when they're doing well and they're successful. So it's so standing up for that and championing and empowering women, because really that's what we should be doing for each and every one. So that's great. And lastly, so for someone else that's stuck, stagnating or self-sabotaging, what would you suggest they do? I mean, obviously for you it was a great investment and probably will hopefully pay back 10 times. What would your advice for them be?
Get some help. Get some help. So even when you think that you can do it on your own, when you've got someone who is there in your corner, and not just a cheerleader, but someone who's going to be honest and authentic with you and really ask the hard questions, you find out so much more about yourself that is just under the surface that you wouldn't otherwise find. It's, you know, it's invaluable. You think about, you know, sports people. If you had a top level athlete, you know, you've been a top level athlete, Mandy, you think about that. If you didn't have a coach at that time, you wouldn't have gotten to the level that you got at. And in Australia, especially, we accept the fact that sports people would have a coach, but why would we have a coach to, you know, create success for ourselves? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, because I think everyone needs to have someone that they can speak to, that they can work with, that they can help to really uncover what it is that's holding them back. I mean, could you imagine if we all took it upon ourselves to take on board a coach, someone that can help us, what we could all achieve? It'd be huge. It'd be absolutely massive. Yeah, my advice is go for it. Do it.
And I, you know, I have a coach in my life. I'm a coach, and I believe we all need one, and you can't be a coach without one. I'm pretty pedantic about that. And I could not imagine not having someone to help me be the very best person and just help me keep on track, because we all wobble, we're humans, see what I can't see. And hey, I get in my own way too, because it's a human thing. It's the beautiful thing about being humans. We're human. Perfect. So thank you sincerely, Jo, for taking the time out of your day. I know you're going away today. I really appreciate it. And if anyone's listening, I just hope that inspires you. You don't have to be stuck. Find a coach. I'm here, Jo's here. Ask them the right questions. Make sure you're a good fit. I always make sure that I only work with clients who are a great fit with me, and I know Jo will do the same. But don't get stuck and stay stuck. Life isn't a dress rehearsal. It's the real thing. Make the most of it. Invest in yourself and go forth and shine and live your life by design. You never know what might happen. I don't think Jo had any idea of some of the shifts and transformations, but magic happens when you take action, you take that first step. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Jo. And hey, we'll have you back later on when you've been in your new business for a while and see how that one's going for you, hey?
Absolutely love to. And thank you so much, Mandy. I've absolutely appreciated the last 12 weeks. They've been invaluable. They've been completely life-changing. You know, I'm so glad that I stumbled across you and, you know, got to work with you. And, looking forward to working with you, in the future. Keep moving forward and, see where it takes us.
It's my privilege too. So likewise. Thanks, Jo.